Welcome to OCLive.
Dreams and goals, they take time to mature. They don't happen overnight.
Our first speaker was inspired by language. Gloria Ansaldúa once wrote, "Wild tongues cannot be tamed, they can only be cut out." Our next speaker says that language are like seeds that allow us to grow. She is the daughter of indigenous parents and is a proud Mixteca woman who will no longer allow her tongue to be tamed. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our first speaker, Ms. Beatriz Basurto.
Everybody. So, in order to start with my story, I have to go back. I have to go back to the beginning with my parents. You see, my parents were born in Guerrero, Mexico, a place that situates on the region Mixteca. And in this region, its indigenous people speak the language Tundavi. Translates to English as the language of the rain, translates to Spanish as Mixteco. And because my language is more of a tonal language, it varies from community to community. But it's beautiful nonetheless. My parents grew up in a remote part of this region, being surrounded by hills, valleys, so green as nature intended them to be. The outside world knew very little about my family, my town for that matter. But my town knew everything it had to know about the outside world, at least about how cruel it could be. My mom, by the time she was 10, she had uncles leave and return to her dead. Her father killed. My dad has lost so many loved ones. It seems as if he's dried up all his tears. All this because of who we were, Mixtecs. So, out of love for their children, out of fear for their lives, they decided to immigrate. A choice a lot of parents, even up to today, have to do in order to give their children, a fighting chance. I arrived here at the age of 3. They wasted no time. They were realistic with me from the get-go. You see, Rather than learning about fairy tales, the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, or even El Cucuy, I was taught and I was told stories of how my ancestors had everything taken away from them from conquistadores, and they survived. How my parents had loved ones taken away from them, but they survived. And they told me, mija, except they didn't say mija because we don't speak Spanish. They told me, se, child of mine, learn to control that wild tongue you were birthed with. Learn to tame it so that you may grow up without the fear that we did. And so I did. I grew up wanting to speak English so good as much as anyone who was born here. At times now, I get comments about how people get so surprised that this voice belongs to a brown indigenous woman. And I didn't grow up with fear. What I did grow up with was a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and a lot of shame. I grew up taunting my tongue. Found myself cursing to myself, teaching my tongue, teaching her that you didn't belong in a room you walked in. You didn't belong on this land, for that matter. I grew up like this, wanting to disassociate myself from anything the world did not welcome. I grew up hating my language. Questioned how I was the one who did not belong, even when my ancestors called this place home. Tired of going to school and being reminded that my success was due to my assimilation, about bringing down my tongue over and over again, and how I have boulders stacked, reminding me how I speak English so well, saying, "Congratulations, Beatriz, for perfecting the guidelines necessary to speak English properly." Instead, what I read, "Beatriz, how the fuck are you gonna explain this to mom and dad? How are you gonna translate this? Because you spent so much time perfecting English, you forgot how to count in your own language." I got tired of coming home after school and being told by other Mexican mothers that I was to stop playing with their child immediately because they didn't want my monstrous language spilling onto their child. The same mothers whose husbands and sons I helped translate for when they didn't know anyone else who could speak Spanish and English, knowing what it was like to not be able to say what you wanted, no matter how hard you tried. I got tired of being my own harshest critic. Tired of always having to accommodate my tongue so the other two languages had space in my mouth. And if I didn't make this clear enough, I got fucking tired. You see, with all this going on, I learned that unwelcoming and closed-minded people tend to have it easier to destroy something that they can't understand rather than that it is for them to embrace it no matter how beautiful it is. I learned that I couldn't take pride in anything that I could accomplish or would accomplish because I couldn't take pride in the roots that connected me to my people, my language, Tundavi. I learned that my people deserve to be more than survivors. We deserve to be thriving. And so, to this day, I'm still unlearning as well. I'm unlearning that through the act of trying to tame my tongue, it never protected me. It only silenced me, my parents, my family, and any indigenous folk for that matter. I heard a quote not too long ago that goes like, wild tongues can't be tamed, they can only be cut out. And I stand now before you, a proud indigenous woman, stating that as her life quote, that I would rather die than allow my tongue to ever be cut out. Before I leave tonight, I want to say, Di Chavido, thank you to you all for listening to my story, a story that my tongue has been trying to say for a very long time. Di Chavido to everyone who's helped me get up here on the stage, that whether they know it or not, have helped me in so many ways that I couldn't thank them enough. And most importantly, Di Chavido to my parents, who unfortunately can't be with me tonight. Di Chavido to them, because without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. There aren't enough words in English, Spanish, or Tundavi to show them, to ever repay them back for everything they've done for me. And to my ancestors, I say, Bacha Sonavichi. They can hear us now. Di Chavido.